Hey, what's up, guys? This is Gus, back with another gameplay commentary. The gameplay we're looking at right now is from Halo 4. It's on the map Haven, and it's a solid gameplay. 17 kills, went to work for you guys. Enjoy the video. But what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about the Lakers. Now, I know a lot of you guys might not be into this whole Laker commentary stuff, but I like the Lakers. They're my team, so whether they suck, whether they're great, I'm going to be thinking about them. I'm going to be talking about them. So enjoy the commentary. Now, what I want to talk about is I just want to make everything clear for myself, for Laker fans. You know what? Lakers are done. They're done. And I'm basing this on their last 5 games that they've played. They had a nice, solid lead on Utah. They were, 4 games above 500, pretty much the best they've been for the entire year. You know, they were doing well, but what do they do in their last 5 games? Lose to Phoenix. I can't call that anything less than an embarrassing loss to a horrible team. The Suns aren't very good, and I'm not even talking shit about the Suns. It's just a fact. They have a team of guys that they've just thrown together, one-year type of deals. That's the thing. Suns aren't a very good team, so to lose to that team, not just lose but get blown out, it tells you a lot about this Laker team. It tells you a lot about where their pride is, where their sense of urgency is. And when you lose like that to a team like that, it just shows that you're just not good enough. You just don't care enough. You know, you don't see that sense of urgency where they're just going to impose their will offensively. Do what they need to do defensively. They're not doing that shit. So that was a horrible loss. Then they move on to Washington at home, where they have a chance to redeem themselves. And that was the whole thing. And the Phoenix loss, you heard a lot about, oh, it was a back-to-back game, this and that, we were tired. Whatever. I don't buy that excuse, especially the way the Lakers were taking games off during the first part of the season, getting their asses kicked by inferior teams. You know, fatigue should not be a factor. But anyway, moving on to the Washington game. Washington, another shitty team at home, which you have no excuse there. They had rest. It wasn't a back-to-back. What happens? They lose that game too. 103-100. Pathetic loss at home where you have a chance to redeem yourself. You have a chance to make up for losing a game where you shouldn't have lost. What happens? They lose that game. Just a ridiculous loss. Another loss against a shitty team that they've had this year. They've just thrown away too many games. If they would have just won the games that they should have won against the garbage of the league, they'd be in a good spot. But the thing is, they do not win consistently against the teams that playoff teams or championship teams should beat. You got to win those games. Next game at Golden State, and of the last 5 games, if they were going to lose a game, I wouldn't mind if this was the one. But given the fact that they lost the previous 2, losing against Golden State hurt again because that put them at a 3-game losing streak. They lost to Golden State 109-103. And after the game, Mark Jackson is talking shit about how the Lakers are in their rearview mirror, how he's got the better team. And you know what? It offended me. I hate when people talk shit about the Lakers, but it's the truth. You cannot complain because at the end of the day, it's the goddamn truth. They're the better team. The Lakers suck, and they don't show that they're a decent team. They show that they're inferior. They show that they lose against garbage teams. Lakers, they're showing that they don't have any pride at this point. Pride, effort, all that shit, it would actually help them win some of these games, but it doesn't show that they have that. They give up on a lot of plays. They quit. They complain to the refs. They don't get back on defense. All of the above. And to prove my point, the Lakers have Golden State. They're going to be playing them, in another week and a half, 2 weeks? I guarantee they'll either lose that game or it'll be a shitty effort, and it'll probably be a nail-biter throughout. And for me, if I was a professional and the team talked shit about me, I'd make sure I fucking nailed their ass in the next game. But they're not going to do that, and Golden State isn't that great of a team. They started off hot, but they've definitely dropped off since the beginning of the season. So the Lakers should fucking take it to them and take care of business, but I highly doubt that they'll do that. Next game that they had, Minnesota, they win that game, nail-biter again. It was comfortable, but it ended up being a close game because they let the shit get away with them. or from them in the fourth. I'm happy they won the game, but Minnesota, again, another team that sucks. They should easily be 3-1 during that 4-game stretch. Instead, they're 1-3. So they pull that one out, so at the end of the day, at least they got the victory. Next game at Milwaukee, they end up losing that game 113-103. So now in their last 5 games, they're 1 win and 4 losses. So for a team that was in a good position over Utah to kind of open up that little lead there, what do? They go on a shitty kind of slump, and now they're pretty much neck and neck. The Lakers have given away all of these games to these shitty teams that now they're going to have to play Houston, they're going to have to play San Antonio, they're going to have to play Golden State in this last stretch of games. Can they beat these teams? Do we really expect them to beat these teams when they can't even beat the bottom feeders of the league? I just don't see it. And Utah sucks too, but it doesn't seem like they're giving away these games. So now, even if the Lakers do make the playoffs with the way they're playing, do we really expect them to beat any decent teams out there? Who the fuck can we really say that they'll beat based on how they've played? We can't even beat the Suns. We can't even beat Washington. Do we honestly think they're going to be able to not even beat Oklahoma City, but compete? Compete with the Spurs? Shit, they'll probably be 4 games and out and be blown out in every one. The Clippers? They also have to play the Clippers in this final stretch of games. They're not going to beat the Clippers. They can't play with them. The Lakers, they just don't play with any sense of urgency. You know, when they got Dwight Howard, I figured that their defensive problems would be over. That they would have Kobe on the perimeter, they'd have Ron Artest kind of mid-range, and they'd have Dwight Howard kind of protecting the paint. But that shit hasn't worked out. In each one of these last few games, they allowed 99 points to Phoenix, but only scoring 76. But all the other teams have scored over 100 points, including Minnesota, that scored 117. So their defense is just horrible. And if you're playing shitty defense like this against these teams, imagine what's going to happen to you when you're playing against top-notch teams like Oklahoma City. They're going to fucking score at will. So they just have no chance. So making the playoffs, I'm not worried about that shit. You know, because if they even do make the playoffs, it's not going to be good. They're going to get their asses kicked all over the floor. And it's probably better if they don't make it, because then they can save themselves some humiliation. So as far as the Lakers are, let's just understand that, people, they're done. And the quicker we understand that, then the easier it's going to be to see these last few games, to see them fail, because they just don't have the motivation, the drive, and most importantly, they're not showing any pride. Pride won't allow you to play like this. You know, I haven't played professionally, but just playing pickup games, so on and so forth, you know, you want to show that sense of pride where you don't get your ass kicked to the point where you're being embarrassed. And the Lakers just don't seem like they give a shit about being embarrassed, losing against the worst of the worst. These teams that they're losing to, it's just embarrassing. I mean, just to put on a Laker uniform and lose to the likes of the Suns when the Suns are playing the way they are, to lose against Washington. And they've had a lot of other humiliating losses. It's just a joke, you know, and we need to understand that the Lakers just don't have it. Now, I'm going to do a future commentary later in the season of what they need to do, but right now they just aren't getting the job done. This is GusCunnilin, and I'm out.